Good evening, everybody. Meteorologist Shay Gibson here with SailFlow and Leading Edge Weather, bringing you a first official forecast for the summer Sailstice offshore race this Friday. First start at 3 o'clock, second start at 6 o'clock. So know your classes. We have the Charlie and Delta going at 3 p.m., and then we also have the Alpha Bravo going at 6 o'clock p.m. for the start. Summer Sailstice, speaking of which, today is the first day of summer. It's the 21st. It is about 7 o'clock p.m. for this forecast, and we'll go over some things. We're still looking at the potential for thunderstorms. This unsettled pattern just won't break, and I'll be getting into that in just a little bit. Also, wave heights might be a little bit higher than anticipated before, so that may have some impacts on the course. So we'll go over that. Let me go ahead and put myself in the corner, show you the CORA website where you go to see the race. It's all here, sponsored by Ashley Yachts. Go to the skipper info to offshore wind and weather, and this is where you can find this forecast and the past one for comparison. So anyways, I know I say that every single time I come on, but I wanted you to see exactly where the forecast is posted, and then I'll also be sharing that out on social media. All right, so the big picture, what's going on is yesterday, or not yesterday, but Monday when I posted the forecast, we had this low over Tennessee, which continues. The mid-level low continues to wobble back and forth, but basically the entire system really just keeping that southwest flow off the Gulf, keeping that Gulf moisture coming up over the area and keeping the unsettled pattern. So lots of little low pressures spinning offshore from time to time. We have one up near Myrtle Beach off the Grand Strand that, it resembles some sort of tropical spin, and we got to watch those this time of the year. But usually when it's involved in frontal systems, we don't get much tropical activity. One thing to be aware of, though, is the subtropical jet stream that is diving down over the mid plains, the mid states, Midwest out here, and you can see the upper air getting stronger, right? And so this is going to be building in time and really give some swoop up along this area around the southern side of this low. What that means is the storm activity may increase. We may see some increased swell heights as a result of that as the swell increases. There isn't like a tropical system or anything, but it just means consistent wind pattern with storming just generates swell over time. And then it just gets really messy. It's always usually a really short period type of bumpy environment out there. So that's the big picture. This is going to continue to be in place for the next day or so before it starts to fizzle out Friday and Saturday. And then eventually by Sunday, hopefully it's fizzled away. But we're still looking at kind of an unsettled pattern even beyond that. But either way, let's go to the WPC surface map right now, or into tomorrow. We have this warm front that's draped across the upstate South Carolina, and that's going to continue to be into place as we have that mid-level low over the Tennessee Valley. That front sticks really close to it. You have Atlantic high pressure out here that's just banking this front into the coastline, right? It's keeping the southerlies going each day. And then with that southwest Gulf flow, everything just stays southerly for the most part and keeps that front inland. And that's going to be keeping it at bay. Even if we look forward to go into Thursday night and into Friday, that front really just stalls just lee side of the Appalachian Mountains and just holds, right? So even with the surface high pressure underneath it by Saturday, that upper low is maybe moving off to the northeast and eventually trailing out. But we keep the southerly flow going the whole time. And so we'll be looking at that for a start, south-southwest winds on your typical or your usual sea breeze pattern. If we look at sail flow, I pulled the models for Chutes Filer. We're going to look at a point offshore as well. For Thursday, winds look pretty aggressive for the sea breeze tomorrow afternoon. We're looking at possibly 15 to 19 knots. That's my forecast inside the harbor and along the beaches. As we get into Friday, it looks like the gradient starts to relax a little bit. The Atlantic high pressure sort of, it's not as robust. The front is a little farther upstate, and we end up with some moderate sea breezes. And the models may not have this pinned down just yet. You can see all the disagreement for tomorrow. There's lots of ups and downs associated with an erratic pattern due to instability and storming. The WIF 2 kilometer, of course, being the most erratic because it's really the physics of it is really trying to read storms. That's why you see these jagged ups and downs with surges. Whereas the lower resolution models have it more normalized. And I tend to go with those in the forecast simply because you can't trust that a model from 2-3 days out is actually going to catch a thunderstorm at 2 in the morning or whatnot. But either way, Friday afternoon, we look at I'd say about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're looking at 12 to 16 knots south-southwest winds. The sea breezes will be filling in. It looks like Friday's a little bit of a drier day overall. I'll run the NAM 3, and as we get into tomorrow, I'll see if we can get the HRRR into the forecast for the storming. That way we can get some messages out to folks. So I don't think anything really that severe Maybe something Friday night into Saturday morning may come sweeping through. And I'll be calling the National Weather Service tomorrow to check in with them to see what they think about it, let them know about the race. But 12 to 16 knots is the call to start. It looks like things taper off a little bit down to 10 to 14 or 11 to 15 knots by the time the sun goes down. And then the low level jets. So inshore, we're not going to see that as much, right? So we go offshore, and low level jetting is when we have an inversion, right? We get heating at the surface during the day to get those sea breezes up. At nighttime, when the land cools, that latent heat is lofted, it's suspended up in the atmosphere, and it settles back down and it recirculates that wind back up. So we end up with strong south-southwest or moderate to strong nocturnal jetting. And so that's what we got to look for offshore. So we look at the Caper's nearshore buoy as a point of reference. This is about 5 miles out. We can go over here to the Corp buoy, but I'll try this one first just to see what the nocturnal jetting shows for Friday night. Looks like as we get into Friday day, the offshore gradient is stronger overall. So as you're heading out through the jetties, winds may be increasing as you get out there. Right now along the coast, it's not as high. We're seeing a stronger gradient along the immediate coast, 16 to 18 knots as that late sea breeze fills in. Actually, it's more indicative of an early nocturnal jet. So this may actually occur Friday evening where we have 12 to 16 could bump up to 14 to 18 by the time the race starts, at least for a period. As we get overnight, Friday night into Saturday morning, the low-level jet, I'm sorry, the nocturnal jet pattern shows pretty strong winds. Nothing too far into the 20s. I would say 16 to 20 knots. The NAM3 is starting to read that at about 1 o'clock in the morning. It swoops up from 9 all the way to 1. It'll probably transition down between 2 to 4 a.m. We'll see those winds start to abate a little bit, but not by much because this flow is in for the long run, right? In for the penny, in for the pound. This south-southwest flow is going to be persistent for days starting tomorrow and all the way through Saturday. So just be aware of that when you get offshore that you're going to have some pretty robust winds out there, some moderate winds in the 15 to 19 or 16 to 20 knot ranges. May see some low 20s, especially if you're farther offshore. I'm just going to pick another point, the Charleston Court buoy. This is 18 miles out. And if we look farther out in time, we get to Friday. The nocturnal jet shows just a little bit of a difference, but the NAM3 really cranks it up into the 20s at 11 p.m. So the farther offshore you are, the more you're likely to encounter those nocturnal jets. Just saying, you can see the difference in the modeling here, where it goes up and then settles back down by 3 a.m. But just know that you're going to see some surging winds out there offshore simply because of the pattern, right, with the front inland. So if we look at the nearshore wave prediction system, I'm just going to pick 41076, the same one we were on the CHS 90 for the forecast. Earlier on Monday, the swell looked like it was going to lie down Friday down to about about 3.5 feet or so. Now we're looking at 4 to 4.5 feet as we start Friday morning, tapering down to 4 feet as we get into Friday and then Friday night, slowly transitioning down in the overnight hours into early morning hours Saturday down to that 3.5 feet mark. So still may have a little bit of height on it the farther offshore you go, and the period's still only going to be 5 to 6 seconds. So again, pretty rough. The direction will be from the south at about 180 degrees as we're seeing here. And so just be expecting that for the waves. So hopefully that'll help you make some decisions. If we look at the significant wave height pattern, let me get to the 23rd here and stop. This thing has a mind of its own if you let it run on pause for a little bit. But we start Friday morning here, and you can kind of see the pattern where if you look at Charleston right here, and then the jetties coming out through here. I'm just going to leave that on the screen and then go step by step through it. So we're looking at about 11 a.m. Then we're looking at 2 p.m. and then we're looking at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. for that matter, right? And so right out there out at the end of the jetties and then to the northeast or east-northeast, we're in the 4-foot ranges out on that side, right? If we end up going to the southwest, then the swell height lies down a little bit, but the bulk of the swell is going to be offshore out to our east and to our north for the most part, and to our southeast. So just understand that wave height is going to be built in for most of the day Friday, and then to the morning hours Saturday, it starts to taper off and back off the coastline. So you can see how that goes back down to 3. So that's your visual for it. Just wanted to point that out. We'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow in the skippers meeting. And let's see what else we got here. The precip model for the NAM3. Now the NAM3 is a decent precip model for storming. It does pretty well with overall mesoscale systems, but microscale systems, really the HRRR or the RAP do really well with these, but they only go out 18 to 24 hours. So we're just not in that window yet to see what the storm pattern is going to be for Friday night and the Saturday morning. Um, but if we get into Friday morning, we see early passage of storms before the sunrise. And then it looks like just some scattered, isolated showers here and there through the day. The heating begins. You'll probably see some isolated storms begin late afternoon, evening. And then as we get into the nighttime hours around 8, 9, 10 o'clock, we start to see a little bit of activity come through. And after that, it looks okay, at least through about 2 a.m. So, we're going to be hit and miss with these storms all week long. It's just a matter of, are you prepared to deal with them when they come out? I don't see anything very severe. If we look at the public images for day 1, which is today, not seeing very much. We get into tomorrow. Whoops. Let's see if I can't go back on that. There we go. Let me go back to that one. I'm going to pull day 3 for Friday, not show today. We're only looking at thunderstorm activity. Nothing severe on the map for Friday. We don't have the SPC outlook for Saturday, but I will pull that tomorrow. Just giving you idea of what it looks like as far as air temperatures. We look pretty comfortable. Mid 80s for Friday, low 70s at night for your lows. Just offshore, the sea surface temperatures are right around 80 degrees, 79, 80 degrees. So it'll be nice. It'll be pretty good weather out there when it's not storming or when the waves aren't really hammering you out there. So I think that's going to do it for this forecast. And really what it comes down to is you have moderate south-southwest winds to start, right? May taper off a little bit in the evening or increase by the time the sun goes down. Then you got some moderate to strong nocturnal jetting at night, Friday night to Saturday morning. That bleeds off around 3 to 5 a.m. You got swell heights of about 4 feet to start, coming down to 3 a.m. as you go overnight. So that's at least a positive thing. The swell is going to be on its way down slowly but surely. And I think that'll do. But I'll see everybody tomorrow night, 6:30. We'll do another recap. We'll go over everything and hope to see you all there. Until next time, everybody, take care. Thanks for watching.